My name is Paul Scholefield. I'm a spatial ecologist at the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology at Lancaster. I use remote sensing, I use drones and satellite data to try and make measurements of the environment, and we do mapping, ortho maps, and we use LiDAR systems as well. What we're going to be doing is using this thermal camera, the H20T, to do some ortho mapping, so gridded photographs taken from the air by the DJI M300, and that will be used alongside of the GPS measurements where we've got GPCs laid out. We're going to be measuring the surface temperature of the soils and looking for seeps of water running down the spoil, which could be potential sites where there's contamination coming into the river as well. The other aspect of this project is looking at the diffuse burden to the metal pollution as well. So there's two components, there's the erosion and then there's also the diffuse load as well, which comes out of the groundwater. So we've got around here, you can see water coming out of the bottoms of the tailings there, around the material coming out there, and that's groundwater coming out, and that's got very high concentrations of lead. The river itself above this area is quite low concentrations of lead, so it's obviously coming from this zone. And what we're doing is measuring this in high amounts of detail, high resolution maps, and that will allow us to increase our understanding of the metal pollution around this site.
Overall, the project that this work falls into is looking at the importance of what we call diffuse sources of pollution from abandoned mine sites into streams. So diffuse pollution is pollution that doesn't come from one point. So that is pollution that comes from the water running off mine spoil and other types of mine waste, including, for example, waste that have come from processing the ore during the operation time of the mine. So we're doing quite a few different things within this project. One of the things we're doing is looking at how the concentrations and the fluxes of metals within the stream change during storm events as water runs off these contaminated areas. We're also doing geotechnical work, so using ground penetrating radar to look at the quality of the ground underneath. We're taking samples of the mine waste to look at how contaminated it is, and we're of course also doing the drone work. And the drone work is a big component of what we're doing here, because the customer is very interested in how the use of drones could help them come to a site like this and decide which parts of the site are a priority for cleaning up, for remediating.
This is an innovation project for the Coal Authority. So what we're trying to do here is test out new technologies that could be suitable and useful to the Coal Authority for assessing the risk of these decommissioned mining sites. So traditionally they would look at the slope, measure the slope angle, and they'd walk around, take some soil samples and just do a visual inspection of the site, and that would be the risk assessment. But these risk assessments have to be done for a lot of sites. There's about 150,000 decommissioned mines around the country, around the UK. So what they need is a way of doing this rapid assessment for a site very quickly, using drones, using thermal cameras and taking some measurements. So these decommissioned mining sites present a risk to our health, mainly through lead pollution to the river, and the river flows all the way down to the River Tees, and that water goes off down to the sea as well. So what we've got to do is try and reduce the lead load that's going into the river here. Now that water is used by farmers, it's used for abstraction, and it's also affecting the fish in these rivers as well. And the River Tees is a well-known salmon and trout fishery, so you can see why lead might be a problem going into these kind of rivers. So the Environment Agency have paid the Coal Authority to actually do this monitoring and look at the decommissioning of these sites. And if we find anything where there is a lot of lead nearby the river, we can tell the Environment Agency and the Coal Authority about this, and we can do some mitigation. So part of this project is to look at mitigating the risk to these rivers.